everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jamie if you are new here, and today I am making a turkey chili with pumpkin. So this is a Pinterest recipe that I found. I will link it down below. The recipe actually calls for ground chicken, but I'm not really the biggest fan of ground chicken, so we're gonna use turkey instead. Let me turn you around and show you what I'm doing. I've got my ground turkey. I'm using the 93% lean ground turkey. The recipe does call for 1.5 pounds, but I'm just using what I have, which is just 1 pound over here. I've got, now it doesn't give like exact measurements. This is it here on Pinterest. It's the chicken chili with pumpkin, but we're using ground turkey instead. So it doesn't give exact measurements. It just says 1 onion. So I have 100 grams of onion finely chopped up here. I've got about 133 grams of celery. This was frozen, so I don't know what that actually adds up to. And I've got about 104 grams of, all I had was baby carrots, but I measured out 104 grams of carrots. I got a tablespoon of butter here. I've got one of these little mini pumpkins that I had picked up over at Walmart. I just cut it in half. There's a couple of spots on here. I did wash it really good. I seeded the inside, so I scraped all of that in the insides. I'm actually going to be giving to Beth and the chickens because they love pumpkin, but I washed the outside. Now it does say to keep the peel on, so we're just going to go ahead and chop it up like this. It does say to just use only half of it, so I'm not sure what I will do with the other half. If I can't come up with anything, then I'll probably just give it to Beth and the chickens. But anyway, you're also going to need some minced garlic, some seasonings that you're going to need. You're going to use some crushed red pepper, some cumin, some oregano, a little salt, some pepper, some smoked paprika. Although I've got this paprika, you need a tablespoon. I'm like down to like the last little bit, so I'm just going to use a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So you're also going to need some, and now the recipe calls for crushed tomatoes, but I have petite diced tomatoes, so that is going to do. A white bean, I like the Great Northern beans, 2 cups of chicken broth, and some heavy cream. All right, so to start this recipe off, you're going to go ahead and dice up your pumpkin with the peel on. Now, if you're not really feeling the peel, I suppose you could peel your pumpkin if you really wanted to, but I'm just going to go ahead and follow the recipe, leave the peel on. Although you did see that there was a couple of areas, and I think it was just because it was dirty or something, so I was just like, I'm going to peel that off. But anyway, so yeah, just go ahead and dice up your pumpkin. It says that you want to use half of a small pumpkin, so that's what I'm doing. Can you believe that I have actually never cooked anything with pumpkin before? I mean, aside from like actually making my own homemade pumpkin puree, which I have done. In fact, I even have a video, like a few years ago, I had done a video on making a homemade pumpkin puree, and then I went ahead and made the pumpkin pie with it. Y'all, it was so good. It really time consuming, not gonna lie, but it turned out so good. I could probably link that below too for you if you're interested. I plan on doing it again, by the way. But anyway, so when I found this recipe, I was like super excited because I was like, man, I've never cooked anything with pumpkin before. I need to make something. So going ahead with your stock pot, or you have a Dutch oven here. You want to make sure that it's super hot. A tablespoon of oil and then a tablespoon of butter. And you want to add in your pumpkin and just kind of, stir it around and saute it for about 5 minutes. Okay, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and add in our onion, the celery, and the carrots, and then you want to just cook that until fragrant for about 3 minutes. Just going ahead, just giving it a good stir, just for a few minutes. This recipe actually comes together pretty quickly. I think it's like about an hour. Oh, and then you want to add in your minced garlic. Fresh garlic if you have it. I just have minced, so I'm using what I have on hand. I'm sure it doesn't matter either way. Um, but anyway, stirring that around for about 3 minutes. Oh my gosh, y'all, when you start adding in your seasoning, it smells so good. The seasonings, the amounts, the measurements for the seasonings will be in the recipe that's going to be linked down below. I know I've already said that, but you are going to add in your salt, pepper, thyme if you like thyme. I don't. I leave it out. Not a big fan of it, but I added in the oregano, the paprika, chipotle pepper, and cumin, and then you just want to give that a good stir. It's going to smell so good. Your kitchen is going to smell amazing. My husband even thought that it smelled really good in there. But he says that all the time when I'm cooking. So then at that point, you want to go ahead and add in your ground meat, whatever you decide that you want to use. And then you're just going to break it up into pieces, you know, until it's completely browned. And at that point, I honestly had a moment where I thought, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't have followed the directions to the recipe. You know, like I should have browned up the meat first. Like, what the heck am I doing? Like, I've never actually done this before where like I add the meat after the vegetables. Like I usually cook meat and then the vegetables. Like this felt very backwards to me. It didn't matter. It came together just fine. That piece of ground turkey that you saw me walk away with, it was actually still a little bit frozen. So I just stuck it in the microwave and hit defrost for like, I don't know, 30 seconds or something. I did add it back to the pot. It really took like no time at all. You probably just don't see me doing it. But yeah, and I was just like mixing it around and I'm like, oh my God, this isn't going to cook right. The vegetables are going to turn to mush. I promise you the vegetables don't turn into mush. That's usually what I do with like the first time I follow a recipe. Like I actually follow it to a T, like the way they say to do it. And if it gets screwed up, then I'll realize, oh, you know, okay, yeah, don't do that. But anyway, 2 cups of chicken broth, add in your white beans, your tomatoes, give it a good stir. You're going to bring it up to a boil. Once it starts boiling, you're going to cover it and reduce the heat, and you're going to simmer it for about 20 to 30 minutes until slightly thickened. And then at that point, after your 20 to 30 minutes, you can add in the cream. You can adjust the salt to taste. I didn't. I actually thought that the seasonings was perfect, so I didn't feel the need to add any more salt to it. Yeah, and then we just served it up, and it says you can serve it up with your favorite toppings, but it doesn't give like a suggestion of like what toppings you would use this for. But anyway, that is it for today's video. Y'all, this was so good. I highly recommend, and we'll see you next time. Hey y'all, editing me here. I realized I did not film an outro for this video, but I just wanted to come on here and thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, share with somebody you love. Also, just to know, the other half of that pumpkin, I ended up chopping it up and sticking it in the freezer because this soup was so delicious. I plan on making it again. Big thumbs up from me. Anyway, thank you again so much, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye. You should know that